All right. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Best Self Blueprint. So, anyone who tunes in regularly knows that usually the mission of this podcast is to bring on people with the knowledge, insights, and experiences that help you move that dial towards becoming the best version of yourself, whatever that means to you in your life. But today is going to be a little different. So, this is episode 55. So, I've gone 54 episodes sitting down with some incredible people, inspiring high achievers who are the top in their field, who have, again, amassed crazy amounts of knowledge and success that they were willing to come on and share. But in the course of those 54 episodes, you've heard little tidbits of my story. You've heard me contribute my side of things to their expertise or their knowledge. But not once have I just simply sat down and told you my story, where I'm coming from, and really how Best Self, the podcast, and Best Self, the company, really came to fruition. So what inspired this was me and Justin Plez, who most of you know from multiple episodes. We gave a talk at a high school where we were brought in to talk about our life story as it pertained to self-discipline, shattering limiting beliefs, and ultimately creating the life of our dreams. Now, I can honestly say at 24, almost 25 years old, that I've really done that. I've created my dream life in terms of I'm doing what I want, when I want, with who I want, and I have full creative power over my career. I have, the stability of a job, but the limitless capacity of a business. And I really feel great about, my friendships, my work, my hobbies, everything in my life. But that's just because I've been very intentional about that for years now. I've created daily, weekly, monthly habits, but that is not at all where this journey started. So just like I was telling the high schoolers, I'm going to tell you my journey, how this all started. And it all started, obviously the day I was born, but from what I can remember, this identity crisis started in high school. So in high school, I had two kind of personalities, if you will. So I had the athlete and I had the student. Now, the athlete really portrayed all of what I consider my ideals. So very hardworking, very inspired, a leader by action. I was always trying to be, I usually was the first one showing up, the last person leaving at the end. I really made sure that that was my altruistic identity. That was everything that I wanted to represent. Now, the problem was, because I felt fulfilled in doing that in athletics, I didn't necessarily feel the need to do the same thing with academics. And so the student was kind of the flip side of that coin. So you've got the angel on one shoulder and then the devil on the other. This was the devil. So as a student, I was lazy. I was a procrastinator. I lied. I cheated. I did all of my, worst portrayals of identity, all of these things that were what I now know of as my shadow self. That's what came through as the student. So I was able to experience this wide spectrum of Trevor, if you will. But then in college, I didn't play any sports. So that identity of athlete got stripped away from me, and I was left with the student. Now, neurons that wire together fire together, and your synaptic connections are, deeply ingrained through time. And so after years of practicing being Trevor the student, that's what was just naturally stuck in my head. So I was, in my mindset at the time, stuck with being this lazy, unmotivated, procrastinating, lying, cheating, waste of space human being. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I didn't know really what my purpose was at school. I wasn't trying. I was skipping a lot of classes. And I really got into this deep sense of misalignment really fast. At the time, I was in a relationship that I started noticing had a lot of toxic traits, by no one's fault. It just, personalities didn't mix. And so I was in a toxic relationship. For me, I was completely misaligned with school and how I was spending my money, my time, my focus. I was doing drugs. I was doing, LSD, magic mushrooms, smoking a lot of weed, drinking almost every day. And it was trying to escape this misalignment, but in doing so, I was just getting exponentially more misaligned. And so eventually it hit this point where I call it my fast track to rock bottom. So rock bottom was this incident where I was kind of tricked into taking triple the amount of psychedelic that I was planning to take. So I was planning to take X amount. I got 3X'd without knowing that that was happening. And a whole bunch of things fell through that night. So I ended up in a pretty bad situation. And it got to the point where I couldn't feel, my pulse. I couldn't feel myself breathing. And I genuinely believed I was about to die. And it was in that moment, I couldn't even think of what I liked. I couldn't tell you my name. I had what's called ego death, where everything that creates your identity, I couldn't connect to it. I couldn't associate with it. And so I was just left with consciousness knowing that it was about to cease to exist. And all I could think about was how disappointed I was. Plain and simple. I was disappointed with my life in its entirety. I was disappointed with myself, whatever that was. I was let down. I was sad. I was scared. And I just knew that I was sorry. I was sorry to myself for wasting the most beautiful gift someone can be given, which is life, time. And luckily, I did not die. I'm still here. I woke up the next morning in a bathroom, and I was so shocked that I was actually alive that I couldn't speak, but I could think. And I was thinking about what I call the big question. So this is something you've probably heard me bring up multiple times. The big questions were things that on your deathbed, you're going to be asking yourself these certain questions to gauge how fulfilled you are or satisfied you are with the life that you lived. So I have 5. I won't go through them. I go through them all the time, but I had 5, and they have evolved and changed a little bit since then. I think that's natural. As life progresses and your mindset progresses, you start asking different questions. But all I knew is I needed to get very serious about making sure that I wake up every day with the right attitude, mindset, effort level, energy, all of the things that I could control. I wanted to start optimizing. And so at that point, I was what I genuinely consider the worst possible version of myself. I wasn't taking care of my health. I wasn't taking care of my fitness. I wasn't growing. I wasn't contributing. I wasn't doing anything that I know lights me up inside and, creates passion and just excitement for life. Right. And so I immediately got into just reading books, listening to podcasts, going to events, listening to mentors. And after the course of a couple of years, I had put down like 150 plus books. I had worked with probably over 10 mentors who helped me with business, with spirituality, with mindset, with travel, with all of these different areas of my life that I knew I wanted to optimize, but I had no idea how to do it because I was so stuck in this trajectory, in this mindset, that all I knew how to do was to wake up grateful to be alive and to ask for help. That was it. Because obviously what I was doing wasn't working. So it wasn't one of those like willpower through type of situations. It was very much my mindset isn't getting me anywhere. So let's see what a different mindset will afford me. And so for anyone who's been in that situation where you feel misaligned, you're misaligned, but willpower and discipline is not getting it done, surrender is how you're going to do it. Surrender to the ideals of someone else. Surrender to the knowledge of someone else. Books, podcasts, mentors, coaches, people, anyone you know in your life who's educated and experienced enough with success in that field or area to actually give quality advice. And so that was another big part of it, was the people I was spending a lot of my time with weren't people that matched where I wanted to go. So I wasn't going to be asking them for advice. I was going to try to set really hard boundaries with those people. I didn't want to cut them out of my life necessarily. They were good people, but there was a time and a place to celebrate and relax and have fun. And then there was a time to allocate towards growth, contribution, spirituality, hobbies, other things. So all of this is culminating by the time, freshman year of college ended. That whole ego death, thought that I died situation was right around there. I don't remember the exact time. And so from that point, for years, I was just in self-development mode. So ended up parting ways with the girl that I was dating, still great friends. Maybe she'll even listen to this, who knows? So I really started focusing on me. I started going deep into who I wanted to be and why. So I dropped out of school and I started just really going deep into my passions. What was I passionate about? Well, I played sports all throughout high school. So I knew I wanted to do something where I'm moving my body, something where I have creative power. And so through a lot of books about like the success intersection, the magic of thinking big, the compound effect, the 4-hour work week, all of these books help piece together my ideal of what I want my work or my career to be. Now, I wasn't telling anyone about this because at the time, my belief was very much the more you talk about it, the more the reward center of your brain lights up by simply talking about it. So I didn't want any accolades to happen from talking. I wanted it all to be action. So I didn't tell anyone my plan, but I had a 4-phase plan. So it was foot in the door, diversity in one area, diversity in areas, and then open up a business. So foot in the door, I got a job at Planet Fitness. Everyone thought I was nuts. I dropped out of school where I was on the path to getting a double major in Chinese language and supply chain management, which would have meant big bucks. Dropped out of school, got a job at Planet Fitness, minimum wage, cleaning treadmills. Everyone thought I was crazy. And I told one friend, trust me, I've got a plan. I'm going to eat shit for a couple of years, but then I'm going to be doing exactly what I want. So I was at Planet Fitness for about 1.5 years. I ended up working every job in the facility. I was running the club, and then it was time to start thinking about maybe going into corporate, and I quit. And I quit because I didn't want to go corporate at Planet Fitness. I had a plan. So again, now that I'm proving myself to my peers, I'm proving the fact that I'm moving up. And then I stopped and quit and went and did something else. Again, people were like, you're crazy. Like, what are you doing? This makes no sense. And again, I didn't say anything to anyone aside from that one friend. And I just said, phase 2, trust the process. And he just kind of had this smirk on his face, but still he admitted later on in the back of his head, he still thought I was nuts. And so we get into phase 2 where I get 2 jobs now at the Wisconsin Athletic Club, which is a higher end gym, and I would almost argue wellness center. They had massages, steam rooms, saunas, all that fun stuff. I got a job there, and then I got a job at a place called Legendary Fitness, which you've probably heard me talk about on here. I race for them. They're an amazing obstacle course, ninja functional fitness gym. So I started working at both of those places because that's the variety in that one area of fitness, right? So I have a very niche group of training where I get to learn how that small hometown gym works. And then I've got the big, almost country club feel. And so I was able to immerse myself in all these different scenarios and learn how to train very different minded people. And so again, I spent about 1.5 to 2 years-ish at both of those places. And at that point, I also started learning about mindfulness and meditation and behavior change and nutrition. And I started getting this variety of knowledge in different areas of health and wellness. So all of this kind of wraps up into this 4-phase plan. So phase 1, foot in the door. Phase 2, get to the WAC and to Legendary, get a variety of experiences. Phase 3 was happening at the same time as phase 2, which is expand my my areas of expertise so that I'm not just a trainer. I'm a health coach, a fitness coach, a behavior change coach, a mindfulness coach. And so all of this was divine timing, if you ask me, because right as I felt fully confident to step into my power and start my own business, coronavirus hit. And so as that hit, I partnered with a gym. So as Corona hit, I started Best Self. And that was the perfect time for it because I was doing virtual programming for fitness. I was doing virtual nutrition advice, just giving people their macros, giving them their calories, nothing actually in depth, but just kind of the basics. And then I was helping them with their stress reduction, their mindfulness. And at a time where the world was going crazy, this was a calling. This was my purpose. And so I spent a year developing Best Self. And then I ended up partnering with a gym in Brookfield. That's where I'm sitting right now, Body by Design. It's an amazing transformation center. They let us sandbox workshop ideas here. They give us full creative power as coaches, as trainers. I'm so thankful for this, but all this time I was just amassing my knowledge so that I could serve, because I'm very much into the idea of the golden rule. If you help enough people achieve what they want and become who they want, you'll step into who you want to be and achieve what you want and become who you want. So that's kind of the whole business and, career development of how Best Self got here. But now I'm going to dive into the more personal side. So naturally, when you have an ego death and you think you died and you come to realize that you basically thought of yourself as a waste of space, something big has to change. You almost have to completely shift your identity. So physical transformation, mental and emotional transformation, spiritual transformation, relational transformation, financial. I mean, every type of transformation and evolution you could think of, I had to go deep into those processes. And it started with identifying limiting beliefs. So limiting beliefs like I'm not a distance runner turned into running 24-hour races and 100 obstacle marathons. This limiting belief that I can't make good money doing what I want to do. I can either do what I want or make good money has led to 5-figure months in business and really stepping into financial abundance, savings, investments, diversifying my portfolio, which is something diversifying my portfolio meant just getting money out of my checking and into my savings at that point. All of these limiting beliefs in all these areas of life took years to break down. And so I don't want you to think I'm saying it's easy. It by no means is. This right here is a culmination of 5+ years of deep shadow work and shattering limiting beliefs and really painful experiences and going deep into that pain cave intentionally so that I could forge and callous my mind and my body, doing these uncomfortable challenges physically, financially, emotionally, spiritually, growing, traveling, expanding into this new calloused version of Trevor that can look back in gratitude at all of the things that have happened. And so this probably isn't going to be nearly as long of a podcast as you guys are used to. Again, this is only for anyone who's interested. But really the moral of the story, kind of wrapping things up, is I think of misalignment as an opportunity to slingshot yourself ahead of the curve, because once you realize how uncomfortable it gets, and then you're able to get yourself into feeling great, you have that tool and that weapon equipped in your head of having that desire not to go back to that place. And I'm not saying go, try to experience ego death or do anything crazy like that. But I think if you are in that place or you feel misaligned in any area, the human brain has 2 driving forces: to move towards pleasure and to move away from pain. So if you can leverage both of those, why not do it? Now, be very aware of not allowing that, leaning into the pain to become toxic. I think that's a very fine line that you'll have to find out for yourself. But I think for me, it's maybe like 10 to 15% of the time, if I leverage just thinking about those dark moments and being on that bathroom floor thinking I'm going to die, or being at school sitting in my dorm room only wanting to drink or sleep or smoke because I just didn't want to be me. I didn't want to be experiencing, I wasn't suicidal, but I wasn't invested in my life in any capacity. And so to anyone who's gotten to this point who has or is feeling that way, even if not to that extent, if you just feel off, if you don't feel like you're in alignment, question it and then pursue it. That is what life is about. It's about aligning with your ideals and pursuing that as much as humanly possible, having fun in the process, checking the boxes, and just living to the fullest extent of your ability in this life. So that is really my story. I was probably a little all over the place, but it's been a while since I've just sat down and talked to the camera. So, you get what you get with me. For anyone who's actually listened to this, thank you so much for listening to my story, for taking the time. Hopefully this gives you a little more insight into why I'm so passionate about making these episodes, about meeting these people, about leveraging these opportunities and sharing them with all of you. I think it's so important to continue to learn and grow in this life. And I am so grateful that I get an avenue such as this and getting to sit down with the people that I do, while at the same time getting the opportunity to impact even one life, one person who listens to these episodes and takes something away that they implement that betters their life, even 1%. So that's my story. That's all I got. If anyone has any follow-up questions about my story, you're curious about anything, go ahead and ask stuff in the comments, or you can DM me. All of my information is in the description below. If you know someone who's been misaligned and just needs to hear from somebody who's been there, whether it's that it's going to be okay if you commit, that it is a process. It's not really a destination. It's just a continued litmus test to see where your frequency gets to. If you know anyone who could benefit from hearing this story, go ahead and share it with them. If you like the fact that I did this, just sat down, got very vulnerable for a little bit and told my story, all the downs, a couple of the ups, go ahead and like this. But thank you for listening, everybody. Thank you for being so committed to developing yourself, to improving yourself. I am so appreciative of it. Again, if you could like this, comment, just anything, any part of my story, share it with whoever you see fit, and then go ahead and subscribe if you aren't already. We have some amazing guests coming down the pipeline. I cannot wait for you to meet them, because most of them are new guests, and just to hear their story and hear their experiences. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we will catch you next time.